Good morning, everyone, and today we are checking out the first support of a patient of the RAS Foundation from Popcross Studios. That's right, it's technically his third series that it's going on and just starting. I would have checked this out along with something else on Monday, but I need to check out Hell of a Boss because of it coming out. So we're gonna be a little behind with some of the series, but either way, we'll be doing and the RAS Foundation and the Academy one. I keep forgetting how to pronounce it, unless there's something from Demon Hunters going on. So for now, let's hop in and check it out.
I would not consider myself to be a particularly nostalgic person, but the work I'm doing currently does take me back to my earliest, more innocent working days. In creating the formatting for case files on our patients, I couldn't help but structure them in the same way as I once did back in my days working for an organization called the SCP Foundation.
Hey, that's
There
fine.
are various examples of this group across the multiverse, and I would not be surprised to find your own realm even has one. Though the one from my world and my entire world
Wicked Jack, I
itself
like that one.
was destroyed long, long ago thanks to a mutual adversary. With Tarsa once more having the
Tarsa.
power to wreak
Damn it.
havoc in the multiverse, I feel even more driven to get the RAS Foundation up and running quickly. The fewer killers, monsters, and sadists out in the multiverse, the more resources can be put into tracking Tarsa down.
Ooh.
After Tarsa tormented, then destroyed my world for the
I don't know what this first thing is, but I like it.
fun of it, I was left as the overseer of a barren universe, and went on to create an entire planet-sized prison from scratch. Single-handedly, I made what was referred to by some to be Back Cell's prison.
Oh,
There, I was
that's
able
right.
to contain tens of thousands of the most dangerous entities and beings from across the multiverse. Though my drive for doing so back then was not so benevolent and came more from a place of rage. I sought to use that prison to trap and slaughter the majority of other overseers in the multiverse, thinking them all to be vile, dangerous, and irresponsible. As I'm aware
Thankfully,
you've
not
been
all of us.
informed,
I
I
mean
was
them.
successful in this venture, but have now seen the error of my ways. While I do believe the majority of worlds are better off without overseers, I do also know that I have killed many good and innocent beings. I myself am now friends with overseers, whom I know to be good people. People who very easily could have ended up in my prison and killed. I have also seen
couldn't kill
firsthand
you.
how being around good people for mere months can cause even someone as once misguided as myself to have their attitude corrected to do genuine good for others, not driven by hate, but by compassion. I now have hope that even the worst of the worst can be helped and possibly even redeemed, all while protecting others from whatever harm they may intend. All this is essentially to not so subtly give you faith that I have experience in multiple regards that make me a suitable guiding hand for the construction and operation of the Redemption Arc Support Foundation.
There it is.
My many thousand-year career has been dedicated to containing dangerous and anomalous entities, beings, and artifacts.
That's
When
right.
I worked for the SCP Foundation, I was doing so out of an interest in helping to protect the innocent, and while I was off track on that mission for many millennia,
With the
I
back
am now
cells.
seeking to do an even better version of that work. The main differences from the foundation I once worked for are the focus of the RAS Foundation, the morals of those backing our work, and the sheer scale of what we are setting out to do. Hence seeking your aid, and that of any you think would be interested in helping us from your world.
Oh, so he's talking to someone. Alright.
The RAS Foundation will
Who
contain
will
and
it be?
study patients we bring in, but the true calling of the organization will not be to keep them locked away in perpetuity. Of course, I am not so romantic as to think we will be able to inspire change in all those we bring in
You can
before
only
their
hope
lives naturally
and pray.
conclude, but I do have hope that many will be able to go from being a blight on their worlds to being a benefit to them, all while becoming more peaceful within themselves. As is right there in the name, we will help as many beings as we can to seek redemption.
Bum
As I
bum.
attempt to persuade you to assist us, allow me to inform you of some of the patients we are already aiding. For instance, patient name Aldrich, patient number H974-1, derived from the fact that he is from dimension H974 and he is our first patient from that realm.
Oh,
Specialized housing.
okay, no, that makes sense. The file is for the realm, and then the number is just that patient. And so it'd be like Texas 1 for me, or New York 7 for that person. Okay, no, I like that. It's kind of clever.
Procedures. Aldrich's walls have been made from a density shifting material that detects when the entity himself is attempting to phase through it. The wall's own particles then vibrate at a counter frequency, which halts Aldrich's ability to phase through matter and keeps him contained.
Clever.
Floodlights have been put onto every corner and surface of his housing unit, and must be turned on to eradicate all shadows whenever any personnel enters Aldrich's room. A power suppressor that works on Aldrich is in active development, so he can be
Good.
permitted to utilize the outdoor facilities in a safe manner. For the time being, he will remain confined to his room, and counseling sessions will be done through the second of 2 doors to his cell, which
That
is
makes
made of a
sense.
specialized translucent material so he can see and fully communicate with Foundation counselors on the other side. Description: Aldrich is a semi-humanoid being constructed largely from sentient shadows and floating runestones. He is clad in a tattered cloak that he once wore as the garment of a cult he was a part of in his home dimension called the Order of Asmoro. In his home
Moro.
dimension of H974, there are no countries or
Okay.
governments due to beings called Arch-Titans, which claim dominance over the various regions of the world and eradicate any organized human settlements that grow to be larger than a small city. This has
Oh,
stunted the
crap.
growth of technology, meaning things such as long-distance communication have not been developed. Humans, monsters, and human-monster hybrids are the primary residents of this world, and all either fear or praise the Arch-Titans.
I
The
bet.
aforementioned Order of Asmoro was created to praise a specific Arch-Titan, named in this group's title. They believed that ritualistically praising Asmoro would mean they'd eventually be allowed to create a larger human settlement than anyone else had done successfully before. Aldrich was a devout member of this organization and found a sense of community and safety within their ranks, despite
Common.
some of their ritualistic sacrifices to Asmoro growing more and more vile the longer the group existed. Eventually, they
Okay,
were
that's
targeted
bad.
by a team of human-monster hybrids calling themselves the Crusaders of Grimm. They asserted themselves to be heroes and deemed it necessary to destroy the Order of Asmoro to halt their sacrifices. They also concocted a scheme to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as it were. There was a violently corrupt city, largely comprised of criminals and villains, that the team had unsuccessfully attempted to tear down in the past. They knew this city had grown nearly to the size at which it would incur the wrath of an Arch-Titan. They managed to trick the cult into thinking Asmoro had called on them
boy.
to gather in this city's center to summon him for a blessing unto this group. Unfortunately, while Asmoro did appear, it was not to bear any good tidings to the Order. With the cult gathered in this city, its capacity had grown too large, and Asmoro arrived to destroy it, along with everyone within its limits,
Damn.
including the cult who praised him.
That
The only reason
sucks.
Aldrich was able to survive despite being in the destruction's epicenter was because he invoked an ancient curse that had supposedly once granted a single human power that rivaled an Arch-Titan. All who had invoked it since had died a terrible and painful death, but Aldrich deemed he was about to face a similar fate anyhow,
It's like,
and may as well
so
take
be
the
it.
chance.
Screw it.
For reasons still unknown, the curse
I mean, honestly, that doesn't make sense. It's like, well, if I'm about to die, let's test this out.
worked for him in a way it hadn't most others, and he was turned into his current form. He gained the ability to control shadows, move through solid objects, and stretch his limbs to currently unknown lengths. While his body phases through most objects it interacts with, he uses the floating runes around his body as hands and appendages with which to interact with the world.
Makes sense.
Unfortunately, this curse
something to
also
touch.
cost him his sanity, and his actions became driven largely by animalistic rage. For decades, he mindlessly scoured his world, killing and devouring both monsters and humans alike. Eventually, though, some of his sanity returned enough for him to recall what had happened to the community he'd loved so dearly. He acquired his first conscious goal since invoking the curse,
Ooh.
to slaughter the Crusaders of Grimm.
Oh,
Unfortunately for
okay,
him,
fine.
he realized the founding members had long since passed, but instead decided to seek vengeance on their descendants, as well as on the Arch-Titan he once praised. He made many
I would have just gone after the Arch-Titan.
attempts to get his revenge, not caring what innocent lives he put at risk or even ended in his quest to claim it. He managed to kill one member of the current generation of the Crusaders of Grimm prior to being brought into Foundation care. While being here, we have already made breakthroughs in communicating with the humanity that still resides within this being, and have gotten clear signs that he can be inspired to change his goals for the betterment of his world. Our intention is to help Aldrich fully regain control of himself and see that seeking vengeance is a far less worthy goal than him using his incredible abilities to protect the innocent of his world from the Arch-Titans. We are also considering attempting to contain and reform the Arch-Titans themselves, but currently our facility is not prepared for creatures of their scale, and we are still attempting to decipher if they are truly sentient or more akin to forces of nature that cannot be reasoned with.
I'd probably go with the latter.
Being someone who actively sought revenge for a great period of my life, I feel a sort of kinship with this patient, and am personally invested in ensuring he can be redeemed and imbued with the drive to save far more lives than he has cost during his days in the cult and on his misguided path to revenge.
Okay, so you're thankfully not accounting for the time he was a mindless beast, because that would have been probably hundreds of thousands. But alright, not bad. And a good first start.
Another thing of note in regards to the RAS Foundation is how remarkably quickly it is being put together. Despite our initial site still being under construction,
so it's just going whoom, explosive growth.
We already have 57 beings and creatures contained on site without even the slightest hint of a containment breach thus far. It may also surprise you to hear that one of our latest assets in the Foundation's creation is one of the 7 Archon demons. While there are currently 4 Archons still running rampant across the multiverse, destroying universes, Toralei McFantarel, as she now goes by, has aligned herself with my allies in the group tentatively called the Sharp Gang, who are actively fighting the Archons. Since we have the current Reaper of the multiverse as our leader, Alexis Jones, we have been able to successfully kill one Archon and protect dozens of worlds from their demons and demon generals. While I fully admit to still having some skepticism about our partnering with an Archon, it would be foolish to downplay what an asset Toralei has been in the short time she has been assisting us. In a matter of days, she was able to construct an entire pocket dimension adjacent to the realm she is now overseer of, T905, for us to build the Foundation inside of. She was also able to construct energetic locks on this dimension so that the only beings who can transport themselves in or out are those we grant specialized watches to, which only work for the wearer they are registered to. Even the other Archon demons cannot get in, thanks to the combination of Toralei's natural abilities and her Overseer abilities, formerly possessed by Sharp Gang member Tayran Janivar, who willingly granted them to her after she'd earned his trust. Even prior to her aiding us, this
It's 12 awesome videos. Go check them out if you haven't. If you haven't, what the hell are you doing here?
Foundation was coming together far faster than my last venture. When I built Baxel's prison, it took hundreds of years to construct the entire thing myself. I had no interest in seeking assistance from anyone, content to stew in my anger and vengeful scheming. Now that I am exclusively attempting to genuinely make the multiverse a better place for all, and redeem even those considered by some to be irredeemable, it seems helping hands are reaching out from every direction. Sterling and Geel of the Sharp Gang had already been in discussion with Evangeline Trismegistus, whom you are well aware is the headmistress of the Trismegistus Academy for Heroic and
Trismegistus Academy. That was the other one I was going to do this week if Hell of a Boss did not put out that video.
Enlightenment to create a facility much like the RAS Foundation. She had loved the idea, but had focused the majority of her attention on building her academy and had not found someone she deemed fitting to head the project. I was brought to her and had a very lengthy discussion in which she deemed that with her faculty and the Sharp Gang keeping me true to my word and my new life's purpose, she would happily provide all the resources and connections she had. Having spent much of her life seeking and working with the most compassionate and benevolent beings to be found in the multiverse, those resources have indeed been invaluable. She has put us in contact with teachers, healers, coaches, speakers, counselors, builders, scouts, and even farmers and cooks, who are all eager to help in the creation and running of an organization such as the RAS Foundation. Hopefully, it is helpful in convincing you to aid us by saying that the RAS Foundation is essentially an extension of the Trismegistus Academy, and while I am heading the project, all major decisions are being passed through Evangeline Trismegistus and her highest-ranking faculty at the school. I would not be foolish enough to expect anyone to solely take my word on this place being an asset to the multiverse, given my history. Ms. Trismegistus' scouts are the ones who have brought in almost all of the patients we currently have housed in our still-growing
I also like how they'll call it patients and not subjects or anything.
facility. Some they bring in will likely be faster to help than others, as there are many beings in the multiverse who mainly do harm to others due to abilities they can't yet control. An example of this is patient name Juliana Gonzalez, also known by some in her world as the Herald of Death. Patient number J075-1. Specialized housing procedures. Ms. Gonzalez is contained within a triple reinforced housing unit. The third outer layer of the wall is constructed with an adamantium-infused material taken from dimension M616.
Wait, how did you get that much adamantium?
Ms. Gonzalez has completed a few more sessions with our on-site counselors. She will be administered a test to see if she has enough control over her emotional state and abilities to be taken out of her cell for an hour each day with the guidance of a chaperone. Sessions can be done within her cell, but if the temperature of the room increases by more than 1 degree Celsius within a 1-minute window, the personnel inside must vacate and lock the door immediately. Description: Juliana Gonzalez in her resting form appears as a young woman in her mid-20s with purple hair and an alternative sense of fashion. When taking her other, more dangerous form, her head transforms into a hovering spiked skull, while both it and her hands become engulfed in a pink plasma-like substance that can corrode or destroy almost any material. She also gains the ability to fly and has dramatically amplified strength and speed. Unfortunately, she also at the moment has little to no control over herself in this form and feels compelled to eviscerate anything in her path. While her control of her abilities is the main thing we intend to help her with, she also did not have a strong sense of morality and compassion prior to gaining these powers due to her upbringing. Ms. Gonzalez was born into a crime family from her world, and at the age of 14, her father was killed while still owing a debt to a crime boss called Vittorio, or the Gun.
And so, Chainsaw Man origin.
He was nicknamed as such due to his obsession with acquiring and developing weapons. While being forced to pay off the debt at first, Ms. Gonzalez eventually became a willing and loyal asset to the Gun and grew to be an incredibly skilled assassin, killing or stealing whomever or whatever she was told. Her sense of right and wrong was essentially programmed into her as being whatever was right or wrong for her employer. As many of our patients likely will have, she acquired her destructive abilities and her other form in an accident. For her, it occurred while stealing a prototype plasma energy core that the Gun intended to use to manufacture weapons. Unfortunately, her assistants in this mission had grown envious of Juliana's rank in the Gun's organization and saw an opportunity to get her out of the way so they could rise in status faster. While she was moving the energy core, the two other criminals fired on her. They intended to claim that she was trying to take the core for herself to sell to another crime family. She was able to evade their shots and hide behind the core while drawing her own weapon. But the gunfire had already damaged the device. The other crooks ran as loyal Juliana attempted to do anything she could to stop the device from melting down so she could still bring it to Vittorio. She was unsuccessful.
Yeah, it went
It
boom.
exploded, taking out the entire building it was stored in and engulfing Ms. Gonzalez in its experimental plasmic energy. This spawned her new form, and in it, she went on a rampage, destroying everything in her path. She killed 63 people and injured 52 more before
God.
heroes from her world caught up with her and barely managed to
115
restrain
people?
her. After being imprisoned in the highest security prison in her world, she eventually transformed back into her regular human state. She was interrogated about how she got these dangerous abilities and what she'd been doing in the lab where the device had malfunctioned, but refused to talk.
I ain't saying
Even after
nothing,
having
you
been
see?
betrayed, she was not willing to rat out anyone under Vittorio's employ. It should be noted that her discipline and loyalty are commendable, if that can be directed towards actions that are beneficial to her entire world and
Yeah.
not just to a collective of criminals. Then she has great potential to quickly become an asset
Can she help the all instead of the few?
to her universe. After only being locked away for a few days, she transformed again due to an unknown trigger and had more than enough might to break free from her prison and go on a rampage once again. She seemingly grew even more powerful her second time transforming, and the heroes of her realm could not stop her. She was only apprehended once again when she inadvertently turned back to her human form. She was found by a
Okay, so it's more like Mob Psycho then.
contact of Evangeline Trismegistus and brought here to be properly contained until we can help her control her powers and show
triple
her
alt.
why she should
Love
use
it.
them for the good of all and not solely for Vittorio's means.
So it's more akin to Mob Psycho with her powers, but the accident that caused them is more Chainsaw Man. With the accident and the explosion.
One aspect of the RAS Foundation's functioning that I'd initially been uncertain about was how we would go about finding patients to be brought in. The Sharp Gang spends the majority of their time traversing the multiverse, facing dangerous threats, and they will
Oh yeah,
surely
a lot
come
of
across many suitable candidates for assisted redemption. But the multiverse is a vast place with many in need
It's
of the
infinite.
help we can provide, and worlds that need a more stable prison to contain their most dangerous entities. One group cannot hope to keep watch over them all. This, once again, has been made simpler thanks to the aid of the Trismegistus Academy. Evangeline Trismegistus has made allies with many networks of heroes from other realms, and we are working with her to create a
Ooh,
single
what the-
network of them.
Rothback, the Atomic AIDS Vampire. Okay, the artwork immediately threw me because I was like, what the heck am I looking at? But now reading that explains it. This is like some kind of, well, atomic Dracula.
So that
Kind
our
of.
own group can contact and seek help or information from other heroes across the multiverse. Evangeline also has scouts she employs to find potential students for her school, and has happily put out a call to hire more to work for the RAS Foundation. She does not provide monetary compensation, but all those who work for her are given housing, food, and safety in her current realm of H333. We also intend to make housing within the pocket dimension T905-1 as well. For those still interested in residing in their home dimensions during their non-working hours, we are working on a way to sustainably pay them in gold, which is a common currency in the majority of dimensions. With her scouts
It's
growing
always
in numbers,
gold.
we could have a very full facility very quickly, hence hoping to acquire as many assets from your own realm as are interested. We have also seen significant progress already in our earliest cases to prove that our methods, while still in active development, are working. One example is patient name Rothbar, patient number
Rothball.
T196-1, specialized
Misread
housing
that.
procedures. Rothbar is to be housed in a 30 by 15 foot radiation-proof titanium-walled room. While we ensure to provide access to sunlight to most patients, his room's windows have been permanently blocked to ensure his comfort. Only personnel with specialized armor or superhuman durability may enter his cell to interact with Rothbar, and permission is only granted when the entity is in a low-energy state. Description:
Go on.
Rothbar is a 7'5" mutated vampire. He has pale purple skin, small tattered wings stemming from his back and one from his forearm, and has mechanical enhancements built into his chest, groin, wrists, and various other parts of his body.
Why the groin?
His
I don't
demeanor
get
is
that.
erratic and hyper-energetic while awake, and he only sleeps for roughly 2 hours per day. He was granted a larger than standard room to account for how much he craves movement. His communication skills were nearly non-existent when first brought to the facility, but those who've been studying him in his home dimension of T196 provided a fair amount of research and context, which suggested that he did not have violent intent towards those helping him. What we have gathered thus far is difficult to verify, but it seems Rothbar was once a cruel baron and a vampire who regularly preyed on civilians in his territory for meals, but would also force them to come to his lavish parties and masquerade balls. Eventually, the townsfolk grew tired enough of living in fear of the vampire baron and worked together to corner the tyrant in his home and force a wooden stake through his heart. Unusually, this did not kill Rothbar, but simply rendered him unconscious. Since he did not need to breathe, the townsfolk did not make the distinction, but just in case he had survived, they put him in a chained coffin and buried him in an isolated plot of the town graveyard. Centuries later, during a time of war, his antics had been turned to folktale and legend, and his corpse was dug up, along with many other corpses from the graveyard, for use in radiation experiments.
Oh crap,
an organization at the forefront of the budding atomic age in that realm was attempting to see if radiation could be used to positive effect to make super soldiers, but wanted to test for dangerous results on corpses first. Apparently, they didn't find it alarming that Rothbar's coffin was chained up, or that his corpse hadn't deteriorated in centuries, or that he had a stake through him.
Hey boss, do you think we should use this chained up coffin? And of course, what am I paying you to think? Dig it up! Boss, the body inside doesn't look like it's brought away at all. Are you sure we should use this? If you keep asking questions like that, I'm docking your pay. Now get it to the lab. Alright. That's exactly what happened.
His heart. But regardless of their reasoning, they deemed his body to be a suitable test subject. The combination of experimental radiation and supernatural abilities warped Rothbar's body into the state it appears in now. It also awoke him in a panic from his centuries-long slumber. He broke free from their facility and ran out into the world, confused by things such as cars, electricity, and advertisements.
What's this?
The lab technicians were able to track him down and bring him back into their custody, where they studied him. They found that he could not only consume human blood for sustenance, but also various forms of energy, including radiation and electricity. During his time in their care, he caused multiple power outages, and they discovered that his body was perpetually leaking radiation, risking the health of those on site if they stayed around him for too long. He would also turn quickly from acting kindly towards those on site to lashing out, striking or shoving them, sometimes even attempting to drink their blood. They had a sense that he did have goodness in him, as he would occasionally show guilt for having hurt the on-site personnel. But they didn't know how long it would be until he attacked someone again. He seemed profoundly confused by his own existence and his own actions. They didn't have the resources or understanding to properly help him. So, when an ally of mine, who has not yet adequately explained what he was doing in that universe, found Rothbar, he decided, an erratic, hyperactive, bug-eyed, radioactive vampire, huh? I think Drezzy Boy should get a load of this guy. Benny Sharp of the Sharp Gang brought Rothbar to us for redemptive care. Since he has been contained on site, he has already made great strides in regaining his ability to speak, and has already claimed to regret his actions from his time as a baron, consuming his subjects. If all stays on this track, he will be our first patient released to his world on a probationary period, where we will observe and ensure he is using his gifts for good, or at least not doing harm with them. I suppose sharing with you the specific case files may have been excessive, but I wanted to ensure to give you as much information as I could before you made a decision as to whether you were interested in assisting our foundation. I would admittedly also be quite interested in the help of someone who has lived even longer than I have. That is a rare thing, and I am interested in spending more time working with those who have that shared life experience. So, Now that I have concluded speaking your ear off, what do you say?
Well, to be honest, Professor,
Aries! sorry. I get really excited because Aries is a part of the Mytholethal series. If you haven't watched Mytholethal, go watch it now. It's another 12 episodes. You're not gonna regret it. Go!
you had me from the second you said Evangeline Trismegistus has your back. I mean, sure, I was a little bitter when she implied that I wasn't mature enough to teach at her school. Still think I'd make a better gym teacher than that bald dude with the bad knees, but hey, helping out here sounds good too. Keep talking to me though. What exactly would my role be if I came here and jacked up at this place?
Well, as I imagine you have encountered before, many people who gain incredible abilities think that their inherent powers are enough to make them able-bodied combatants. When we are able to help our patients get to a place where they want to use their abilities to help protect their worlds, we will need someone to train them to properly use their abilities, so they are not solely relying on inherent gifts. As I've been informed, you are both...
You pretty much gotta pull a Ben 10 and teach them not to rely solely on the watch, because even without that, they are still strong or whatever. Well, if you watch Ben 10, you know what I'm getting at. The watch doesn't make him special, so these powers don't make them special.
A very powerful being your own right,
but
are also a skilled warrior with a history of teaching others to fight.
Forget it.
So, our current conception is to have you leading the combat training for our patients farthest along in their redemptive cycles, who intend to do physically heroic work after leaving the Foundation.
Right. So you make them not so crazy, and I teach them to be crazy good fighters.
Well,
yes.
We'll try to avoid the term crazy around the Foundation, but essentially, yes. Given your immortality and skill set, we may also require your aid in bringing in particularly dangerous patients when they are located in other dimensions.
Alright, that sounds good to me. I mean, technically gods from my dimensions lose our immortality when we've spent too much time outside our home dimension. And I'm well past that point now. But even if I technically can be killed, that doesn't mean I'm ever gonna be. You need me to help bring in...
That's actually kind of cool. Gods that have taken outside of the home dimension for long enough lose immortality. That's actually very interesting. It's like the immortality is linked to something within that home world.
And some extra bad folks? I'm game with that too.
Well, I am happy to hear that, Ares. But just to confirm, you are not unsettled by the number of lives I have taken in my past?
Buddy, I'm a god of war. I'm not exactly in any position to be judging anyone on their kill count.
Ah, yes, I suppose I could have anticipated that response. Well then, I suppose that is all, so
Hold up a sec there, Prof.
Ooh.
You got me curious, so talk to me a bit more here. What other patients you got kicking around this place?
You want to hear about more of the patients?
Who doesn't?
Sure, sounds like you got some pretty spooky cases here. And you've got a pretty relaxing, but also a bit chillin' sort of tone going on with your voice there that I'm vibing with right now. So let's hear it.
Of course, but gladly. I will pull out some more case files.
Oh, and I am loving this series even more now because we have a connection to Mytholethal. Yes! Sorry, I'm just a little
That's right, there
hyper.
is going to be another round of this community redraw coming out on Monday, and then the next episode of the Trismegistus Academy series is going to be coming up the following Friday. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen, there's a new series on the Trismegistus Academy that has started. The first episode is up, and I will link it in the description. And if you're wondering who Ares is, then you probably haven't seen Mytholethal. He was a bunch of people's favorite character from that series, and I think that's a really good series. And the whole thing's done now, so if you want something to binge, it's right there. Huge thank you to everybody who submitted for this community redraw. Again, there's going to be another 3 people picked for the episode coming up on Monday. So even if your art was shown in the community scroll today, there's still a chance you got picked for the next episode. But a specific thank you to the people who were chosen for this episode. Quinn Allen, Nightjaw, and Drew Teasley. Now, for the next Popcross Community Redraw, what I want people to submit is your own kaiju, or I guess more specifically a kaiju demon. I mean, they don't have to look that demonic, but these are going to be demons of the Archon demon Kaijurex, for a one-off story that I'm tentatively calling the Powerhouses. There's a good chance it'll end up being split into 2 videos, but I don't know, we'll see when we get there. And it'll probably
Man,
have a bit
there's
of
a
a
lot.
Christmas theme to it, but your submissions don't have to. I'm probably just gonna set it around Christmas. So it'll be a
That's
Christmas
fine.
episode in the same sense that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. But
I was
anyway,
just about
besides
to
that, that's
say.
all for today. Except, of course, for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note. And the
What
thought I
you
want
got?
to leave people with is a nice, simple one that I read this week from Gandhi, which is
Oh.
that there's more to life
Okay.
than making things go faster. And even just saying that one kind of helps me relax a little bit. I have a tendency myself to be a very go, 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 get things done
I
person.
get
And I've been
that.
trying to get better lately at just kind of slowing down
That
and
actually
enjoying
makes
the
a lot of
process
sense,
more.
really.
I hope that's inspiring to other people out there. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday. Goodbye.
Alright everyone, and that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.